So at what age should you allow your children to try alcohol? If maybe just never, I don't know what the rules are, but should we be allowing them to experience it within the confines of the safety of home, or is it something that you're just against it completely?
I think it's really difficult because I think, you know, with kids, obviously, if you make hard and fast rules, then they rebel against them. That's what they're kind of built to do. And if you look at Europe and places, you know, where people don't have the same fixation with alcohol that we do, they seem to manage it far, far better. You know, kids have a little bit of wine with some water in it and so on. I mean, I feel that Cara Delevingne story is, you know, actually triggers me because when my son was 8 years old, we were at this bonfire night party and it was quite big. There was about 100 people, all generations, you know, and I suddenly looked at him and thought, and he was with all his mates, and I thought, he's staggering, you know, and I said to my husband, what's wrong with him? And he'd been clearing the drinks off all the tables that he was passing. He'd just been knocking them back. and, you know, obviously, that's not good. And I think he learned quite a lesson from it because he felt so ill for about 4 days afterwards. So I'm interested in Cara's story because the inference seems to be that other people were to blame for her being allowed, perhaps, to do that. But I think lots of kids, you know, do stupid things and learn through it. You know, I'm the daughter of an alcoholic, so, you know, I have a particularly strong wariness around alcohol and, you know, people who overdo it. But I'm also very clear that, you know, alcoholism is a disease, isn't it? And, you know, the fact that my son drank a load of drinks at 8 doesn't mean he's going to be an alcoholic. And in fact, now he's a hulking great 18-year-old, and though he does like a drink, you know, I definitely am not worried. Yeah, I'm not worried about him, you know.
Same as me, because my dad was quite a big drinker, and I think he's the reason why I became almost phobic about, well, not about drink, but about drunk people.
Yeah.
And even now, I take that, you know, I love when people get tipsy and they're having a good time, but as soon as they cross that line to where their personality changes, I have to leave. I can't stand it, because I don't know...
There's nothing worse than a drunken boy,
No, but
though,
I don't know whether it's going to go, you know, aggressive, or you can see it in their face, can't you? And I think, now I've got to leave. And that stems from, as a kid, watching my dad. He was a brilliant dad, but at the weekends he'd come home and he was the quiet drunk. He never just bowled in. He was always quiet, and that scared me more. Because I knew he was in that mood. And then, so that sent me the other way.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because, like, alcohol never to me meant fun until I was in my kind of 20s and having fun because, you know, what I witnessed was, you know, a man sitting alone for hours a day. We were living in Ireland at the time, you know, drinking on his own in a pub and then dying at 44. So it wasn't like, woo, must have a cocktail.
Yeah.
That'll go for a good time.
So you can influence, in some respects, your children, but however, I think it's like anything. The more you say to kids, you cannot do that, you cannot have that, that's banned, instantly they want to go, oh, I want to try it.
I think the trouble that we have is that we sort of fetishise alcohol a bit, and we sort of think, you know, I think, oh, I can't go out to that dinner because I'm not drinking this week, or I can't, you know, and that somehow alcohol is the fuel we need to get through social occasions and difficult occasions and at the end of a bad day and all of that. And maybe we just need to sort of refine that, because if you're teaching your kids that, then that's a bad pattern, isn't it?
I think that just depends on your environment that you grow up in. And I didn't grow up in that environment. Nobody around me was like a big drinker, and I'm being a Christian, I'm not a massive drinker. I just don't like the taste of it, never really been into it. So I think it really just depends on the environment that you're raised in. My children are raised in that environment too, so they don't really see anyone drinking around them particularly, and they don't show an interest in alcohol either. So they don't ask me about it. We don't have conversations about it particularly, you know, going around the shops or the supermarket. They're not saying, you know, they just don't have that kind of interaction with it. There's not a negative connotation, and there isn't a positive one. It's just one that's neutral. They understand what it is and they understand the consequence, if that makes sense.
Do you think people are drinking, young people are drinking less these days? I really get the feeling that, you know, particularly in sort of the late teens and the early 20s,
very much
they just don't seem to be drinking like...
No,
like
absolutely. I think that it was more of a rite of passage back in the day where you had to go out and, you know...
I think the problem is there's other things involved now, isn't
there maybe that is exactly it, but I think there's...
And it's quite expensive. expensive.
Yeah.
And
You
there
know,
are
alcohol,
alternatives
isn't it?
now, the no-secco thing, all of these kind of other things that slightly taste a little bit alcoholic, but there's nothing in it. There's different ways of feeling like you're still part of the party.
Yeah, that's what I do with my children. So, like on a Sunday, or like if there's a special occasion, like at Christmas, I bought no-secco, and we all had it as a family with our meal, and it was wonderful, and we had a lovely time. And they really like the sound that the bottle makes, you know, when it goes, doop, they love that, you know, like when it fizzes up, you know, they love it. So they just feel part of it, but without any of the, you know, the worries that you have in terms of addiction or trying it too soon.
But do you ever worry that, like, the no-secco makes them feel that Prosecco is the aspiration, you know, that actually,
give me a couple more
not
years.
at all. Just
Just
give it a
makes
couple
them
more
feel a
years
bit
and then they'll
grown.
be
No,
able to...
exactly, exactly, Carl. No, not at all. It just makes them feel a little bit grown up and included with the adults of what everyone else is doing.
And also, there's a certain age where they pretend then that they're drunk anyway, even though you know it's no Prosecco. And they stagger around like, oh, I'm so drunk. And you think, OK.
But I've tried to delude my son by putting, you know, zero alcohol beer in the fridge. You know, I mean, they look almost exactly the same now, don't they? He spots it every time.
Yeah.
Have you bought that? Whatever, zero.
I do think, sorry, Christian, that we do have to stop telling people who don't drink, oh, why are you being boring?
I'm constantly asking why are you
From
not
an
drinking?
early age, that's all I got when I was out. Well, why are you being boring? I was like, no, you're boring because your personality's changed since we've come in and mine hasn't. And I'm having a great time.
It's very much a choice, absolutely.
The trouble with not drinking, though, is that everybody seems boring. Including yourself. You know, you think, I'm really bored with myself and I'm bored with everyone else in this room going home.
Interestingly, in England, Scotland and Wales, it's not illegal for someone between the ages of 5 and 17 to drink alcohol at home or on other private premises.
Is that true?
Yeah. So, but obviously, it's not recommended, but it's not illegal. It is illegal, of course, to buy or try alcohol then. If you're under 18, to try and buy it. But within someone's home, you could...
So your 5-year-old could go, Mum, nip to the shops and get us 4 beers.
But when not recommended and actually illegal because you're buying it on behalf of.
When I was about, like, 9 and 10, my stepfather used to work at the Guinness factory in Dublin. And he used to bring back, you know, because one of the things you got, you know, along with your wages was a pack of Guinness. And he used to give us all a little bit of Guinness. I just remembered that. And Guinness have just apparently gone off the Richter chart in terms of popularity in the last couple of years. And even the marketing people at Guinness don't understand why. I don't know why, because it looks good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Good for you. Guinness is good for you. That used to be the tagline.
There are other beers available.
I was going to say, there are lots of other beers available.
Quite available.